Last night, we lit the 8th candle of Hanukkah. This final day of Hanukkah is referred to as Zos Hanukkah, or this is Hanukkah. The reason for this is the Torah reading on the final day of Hanukkah that contains the passage, Zos Chanukat HaMizbeach. This is the dedication of the altar. And the word Hanukkah is rooted in the word chinuch, or dedication. The Hanukkah celebrates the rededication of the second Beit HaMikdash, where the Jewish people rose against their oppressors and were victorious. How fitting then that Zos Hanukkah is when my mother's neshama left this world, on the final day of a miraculous holiday, commemorating a victorious uprising against our oppressors, a woman whose very life was a miracle and represented her victory over her oppressors, a woman, a girl, who survived the horrors of Auschwitz at age 14, who emerged alone, no parents, no siblings, and arose victoriously from the ashes of the Shoah to build a new life and family. A woman whose entire life was a dedication to the memory of her family that perished, a dedication to honor the prayers of her beloved father, who, as they were being taken to Auschwitz on the trains, cried, "Please God, leave me one zecher, one survivor to continue the family name, so we are not wiped from the earth." My mother, Gitu Basara, was that one survivor, that one dedication who represented the answer to her father's prayers. She was forged in the fire, and similar to the miracle of Hanukkah, the one survivor lit up an entire menorah, an entire new branch of family. She was strong, a true warrior who battled back against seemingly impossible odds many times, especially over the last 30 years with various health issues. But she was also a dedication, dedicated to her husband, my father, Yaakov, who she adored and cared for throughout many years of illness. She was dedicated to her family, her children, and all her incredibly beautiful and smart grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Not that she was biased, as she would often tell me. I was the baby of the family, the much younger surprise, that was born when my mother was the ripe old age of 38. Back then, it didn't seem like she was pretty old. Her own parents were killed when they were in their mid-30s, so she thought she was an old lady already. Her one wish that she prayed for was to live until I was age 14, the same age as she was when she went to Auschwitz and lost her family. She figured if she could make it, okay, after that with no parents or siblings, I would be fine with a father and 3 older kids. She used to tell me repeatedly, I won't be around much longer. When my own kids were born, she gave me their bar and bat mitzvah presents, since she knew she wouldn't be around for those events. Spoiler alert, she made it to all 4. But she was so worried that her grandchildren might not know how much she loved them. She wanted to make sure I had their gifts. My mother always introduced me to everyone as her baby. This didn't change no matter how old I got. She got immense pleasure pointing to me and saying, that's my baby. When I was younger, I would of course roll my eyes and give her the mom, but eventually I realized how incredibly lucky I was to have this special woman as my mom, and I proudly wore the baby title. My mom used to say that my dad was the favorite, as he was the softie and she was the boogie lady. She wasn't a mom who told you how much she loved you and how great you were. Instead, she showed you her love by everything she did for us and always exhorted us to do better as well. When I got a 95 on a test, her response was, "You would have gotten 100 if you would have studied more." But my mom taught us all about the value of hard work, perseverance, and never giving up. Despite not being very outwardly mushy to her own kids, my mom was the polar opposite when it came to her grand and great-grandchildren. She bathed them in compliments and love, and they all glowed from her affection. They were the lights of her life. No matter how much pain she was in, when a grandchild called or came in, her whole demeanor changed. They were the best painkillers, she would often say. I was blessed to be with my father when he was nifter and got to tell him how much I loved him and say goodbye. That wasn't something my mom and I had said to each other regularly before, but after that, I started to always make sure to say, "Goodbye, Mommy, I love you," whenever we spoke or I left her. She started to respond in kind. "I love you too, Mamala." So my final words to my mother yesterday were exactly that. But from my mother yesterday were exactly that. "I love you too, Mamala." On behalf of my sisters and myself, I need to give public thanks and our unending gratitude to my sister-in-law, Rivki, who loved my mother so and treated my mother better than any of her own daughters. For the last 7 months, she waited on my mother hand and foot. She shopped, she cooked, she took her for walks. I think she kept her alive. Together with my brother, they exemplify the true meaning of Kibbud Av V'Ein. We also need to thank my mom's aide of the last 7 months, a wonderful and caring woman named Cheryl. She cared for my mother with such love and respect, and we could not have managed without her. Despite the horrors that my mother survived, she did not think that God owed her anything. She considered herself the luckiest woman alive, blessed with a loving husband for 55 years, 4 children, 16 grandchildren, and 30 great-grandchildren came Yirbu. She dedicated her life to us, and we were the lucky ones to have had her as our role model and matriarch for so many years. I know she was greeted in Shamayim by my father, her parents, her extended family, and is proudly looking down right now, showing them all that she achieved through her strength and her faith. Mommy, I publicly ask you for Mechila to forgive me for anything I did to hurt you. Tehei nishmata tzrura b'tzrur hachayim.